So I would like to welcome you all to this lecture. We are particularly happy to have with us this morning here in India and Bangladesh, tonight in the Dominican Republic, Rizvi Hassan from Bangladesh, a young architect who has been making a mark in Bangladesh with his socially engaged and culturally sensible work. We're also happy to have with us architect Jesus D'Alessandro, director of the UNIBE Architecture School, a well-known practitioner and urban planner from the Dominican Republic. This lecture is part of a wider series our embassy has been developing in the past 2 years with writers, thinkers, spiritual masters, architects from both the Dominican Republic and the Indian subcontinent. Some of the lectures can be found online in the YouTube channel of our embassy. Previous lectures on architecture have included the Auroville Earth Institute with its director, Satprem Maini, and Sri Lankan architect, Chana Daswater, head of the Jeffrey Bawa Trust. The idea of these lectures on urbanism and architecture has been to present to the public of the Dominican Republic contextual practices from India and the Indian subcontinent, practices that respond to the ecological, cultural, and social realities of this region. I would like, without further ado, to ask architect Jesus D'Alessandro to introduce Rizvi Hassan. Then Rizvi Hassan will speak for about 30 minutes, and then architect Jesus D'Alessandro will moderate the question and answers with Rizvi Hassan. Thank you very much again for being here with us, and I'll give the floor to Jesus D'Alessandro.
Well, good night to you all, and welcome to this amazing space that the Dominican Embassy in India has opened for all of us. And for that, I wish to congratulate Ambassador David Puig and his team. This is a tremendous initiative to bring together all of our cultures and to express what's best among us. And in this occasion, we have an amazing architect from Bangladesh, Mr. Rizvi Hassan. Rizvi, how you doing? Good night.
Hi, Jesus, how are you? I'm good.
It's a profound honor to me to introduce you tonight. And before you have the space and you can make your presentation, I would love to read for our audience part of your profile. Rizvi Hassan is a Bangladeshi architect. Since the beginning of his practice, he's been exploring various roles of a design professional and in unconventional fields. He has worked in Bangladeshi locations such as Cox's Bazar, Ukia, Teknaf, Sylhet, Jenayada, Shadpur, Sirajong, Kurigram, Shar, and Misharai. You would correct me if I'm mispronouncing it. I apologize to you, Rizvi. Yeah. And I understand you worked with this in this location of Mir Sharai for various Bangladeshi communities and Rohingya refugees. You've been working on contextual response, local identity, culture, and learning through collective making, and how all of these has been impacting and generating key features in your work. And I have learned that you try to reflect on the construction process and final spaces, everything you can learn from the contextual reality of each one of the objects that you are being challenged to design. You've been working with CSF Global, Sajida Foundation, IOM, UN Migration, ICRC, BRAC, and other organizations. Among your recent works, you can see the Rohingya Cultural Memory Center, the health facility of Konampara, Hindu Para Community Center, safe space for women and girls, and Balukia Community Center. For your contributions, the UN OCHA recognized you globally in 2020. You've also won the ASF Award 2021, and most recently, the Aga Khan Award for Architecture in 2022. Again, it's an immense honor for all of us to be able to share with you and in this space and to learn from your experience and your vision. We're all eager to hear you talk, and from now on, please, I give you the word so you can start your presentation. After you finish, I would also love to coordinate the Q&A session. So please feel free to start your presentation tonight.
Thank you so much, Jesus, and also David. It was a very kind introduction for me, I think, and I feel really honored, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to thank everyone from the Dominican Republic who is here with us tonight. And I would like to welcome everyone in this meeting with us, with me, and would like to ask you to pop up and ask me any question or make it a conversation instead of just listening or looking at the pictures. But yeah, Jesus was mentioning that I was actually out of the city, the capital, Dhaka, from Bangladesh for a long time. And it was from the early stage of my practice since last 5 or 6 years. And because of that, I had some advantages to look at many contexts and many situations of our country, which is often overlooked in our current practices. So I personally learned a lot from going to these places and seeing these places, and had this idea built in me that probably the definition of architecture right now being practiced in Bangladesh is not the full definition. So I always try to add how we can contribute more as designers in this context, especially what we need to address, and how we can deal situations or problems. So I will share my screen. These will be some photos. Again, if anyone has any question at any time, just you can come forward and we can discuss instantly. Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen. If anyone can't, let me know. So I come from a very small, humble country, Bangladesh. It's situated like in this green area you can see. I have intentionally not put the boundary because I think that confuses a lot of things. The boundary of a country makes you not realize what is going on and what's the real situation of the nature of the landscape there. So you see this little green corner right on the east of India, and we have Myanmar on this side, and on the north we have the Himalayas, the Nepal Himalayas, and we have Tibet on this side. So so you see this green corner, and there are a lot of streams running down through this through this country, through this landscape. And I think you cannot see such bold lines anywhere near or anywhere other in the map. But these are the river streams that has been created from the Himalayas, Himalayan range, and that is going through our country. And actually our country is made of silt coming from all these river streams. So you can imagine how powerful these river streams are. And these river streams are continuously changing the landscape, continuously destroying the landscape and recreating the landscape, and thus creating a very powerful or fertile land for cultivation, for agriculture. And you see how these river streams are connecting to the Bay of Bengal. That's the southern sea. And again, all these seals are creating variations in such a small landscape. You can see like chore areas, like new lands where the seals just stack up and create new lands, very much cultivable lands. So people go there despite of the instability. They go there and they start living there. So that creates a situation. And again, on the southern side, we have a very salinity problem. And on the northern east, we have like the biggest basins of our country. Like the Meghalaya range is on the north. You can see this small tiny brown area. These are hills from the Indian, and these hills create a lot of raining on this part of Bangladesh, and that creates a different landscape. So in this tiny country, there are like different zones where you can see different materials, you can see different techniques of housings, of architecture, of construction, and you see different need of design solutions. But the thing is, in our profession, in our country, architects have explored a bit, but not enough to provide the solutions that is required there. So you see 800 rivers and all these thousands of small channels of water stream. This creates our landscape. This creates Bangladesh. You can see this map of rivers, and you can tell how brittle this is, and how it's like a clay. We're living on a clay, and it's being changed every year. But we have a very beautiful landscape. We have a very good connection with water, with plants, with our rain, and landscape like this. And during the afternoons, you can see such beautiful horizons almost in every village if you go there. And rain creates like small islands like this in many villages, where every village or every house becomes an island. Again, when the rain stops, or after 3 months from when the monsoon is gone, these again this dries up and creates a cultivable land instead. So during monsoon, people catch fish, and during dry seasons, they harvest rice, paddy, and other vegetables. And in extreme situations, you can see housings like this. This is from Sunamganj Haor last year. We went there after a big flood that happened and washed away a lot of housing from that area. A flash flood happened during that time. Like within a day, people lost a lot of houses, but they started rebuilding with these materials like sandbags and bamboo fences to protect their plinth first, the foundation of the house, and then they built their house with like corrugated sheet or any other material they can get nearby. And the only transport here you can see is the boat. That's how they go to these places. Um, but this sort of landscape, they require particularly very much contextual design, and I think architects from this region has a lot to offer in that case. This is a photograph from river bank erosion, and you see a modern house, a brick building or a concrete building is just getting washed away. And this scenario is happening every year because we are following examples or techniques that is not contextual way of building. We are thinking like we are in a very stable land, like we're in the city and we're building these concrete buildings, but that land doesn't allow these houses to be staying there. And in every year we face these issues that people's houses are getting washed away by the river, by the strong stream. And it made us thinking, like, what is the contextual solution then? Like this house, this is a very famous house from one of our regions, one of our regions where they face a lot of riverbank erosion. And this housing module, this is a prototype or portable housing system. They use these prefabricated partitions and roofing system and just assemble it, and easily they can remove it when they need to. But the thing is, this design solution didn't come from any architect. This came from a local vendor, local craftsmen who have been living there and facing the situations for a long time, and they have been coming up with their own solution. And it's very interesting. They're making these houses, these portable houses, and selling it on market and displaying it like it's a Barbie doll's house just by the roadside. So you can go and you can literally pick up your design and you can purchase, and they will build it for you in your house, in your land. So we learned a lot from these local craftsmen, that maybe their responses to the situations are more appropriate than what we learned from the previous practices of architecture, from the masters or architects who have been well recognized. They have been practicing in different contexts, but for us, that was the definition of architecture, and we tried to replicate that, but that didn't work very well for us. So the young generation, especially, we have a lot of friends from Bangladesh, from different universities, who now just go and search these areas and try to build their mind in the right way, that what is our solution and how can we really be a better architect for Bangladesh. And we look for the local situations. And in the northern side, you see a lot of mud houses where it is more stable. The earth is quite very, very strong as a material. You cannot really tell the difference between like a cement plaster and an earth plaster. It's so stable. There, the mud houses are the most suitable to live in. And for me, like this small landscape, you can see it's tubal, small tubal, but the water source of the family is there. Uh, for me, this landscape is like an ideal living style of our country. Like you see the earthen house, you see the fuel that is coming from the cow. It's a cow dung sticks, and you see where the water goes and how this small landscape is supporting this whole system. And they have the tree, they have the walkway. So it's very much designed for me. Probably not in our eye, but we can find a lot of clue of designing our built environment from the local practices. And these are all um, designed and made by all the local craftsmen. And these beautiful courtyards from the villages, these earthen courtyards, these are like a very peaceful place to stay in. So this is a photo from Rajshahi on the left. It's from a village where people are still following the traditional way of living. They're staying living in the earthen houses. And on the right, you see it's a scenery of Dhaka. You see there are large buildings on the background. And this is an informal settlement who is supporting the city, but they still have the need of raising their kettles and making their houses, but it's in such a messy situation. So the previous one, in the left one, you see that was our life, and on the right we're creating the new modern life. But how can this be modern? How can this be advanced when we are going for a better quality of life in this era? You see this scenario of city developments right now, ignoring the river bank completely, and like growing in a very dense situation, and not looking at the river, just looking at the street front, and just concrete and build bricks all around. Uh, of course, a city needs to grow, but the problem is when the model of a city is imposed in a context, this sort of mess happens, and that's a real problem. Uh, Urban heat generation, people's health are being at stake, and this is creating a lot of issues when we had the scope to like live with our beautiful landscape. We are ignoring that, and we are going after city life, not planned in a way. And very absurd developments like this is happening in Bangladesh. Um, you see, this is a huge university in Dhaka, and this is the just by the side of the university. This is the informal settlement, people from different farthest corner who came here, and they're supporting the whole city, but their life is not really well maintained, or their quality of life is not ensured by the government or any other party. And because of urbanization, these even in the villages now, people are being unstable. They think that they have to go to the city to make a better living, and they forget about creating a beautiful space that they used to in the villages. So right now, this instability is creating problem both in villages and in cities, that you have to go for a must from a village to a city, from city to a different country, this rush is creating instability in people's life and thus creating a very unhygienic environment wherever they used to live. Because when you think that you stay in a place for long term, or you learn to love that space and you learn to create that space, organize that space in a very beautiful manner. But when your mind is influenced by unstable ideas, you don't probably take care of your environment much at all. Of course, we had a very beautiful history with brick and burnt clay and that sort of materials. But right now, again, urbanization is creating problem. How? Like these brick fields, you can see these brick fields are eating up all the topsoil, all the fertile soils and hills from the surrounding area, because these businessmen, they are not very much ethical always, and this is a new virus for us, that the brick fields are eating up all the surrounding topsoils. That is very important for our cultivation, but right now they're destroying it. This is the previous scenario, like 10 years back. You see just one tiny brick field there that started growing, and right now you see how it has been eaten up by, you can see the change like this. This is from the exact same place, just after the brick field and before the brick field. So the thing is, the reason behind talking about this is architects can actually be sensible in terms of designing their products or the built environment with materials. They can use limited sort of bricks and use very efficient and offer a very efficient designs where you don't need to put extra material to show just beautiful aesthetics. But currently, sadly, a lot of practices are going on where people just use heavy brick, or unnecessary use of bricks are quite a trend now. You are making large pavilions or large plazas or heavy brick walls just to make it bold and permanent. We are influencing everyone to use these materials more and more, and that is in the farthest corner of the country, actually eating up the valuable land we have that we often overlook. So I think efficient use of materials will be the key. And so again, right now, what we are trying to do, we are trying to go to this communities, different communities, and trying to come up with alternative solutions of built materials, like in the villages or in the informal settlements, they use this corrugated sheet a lot. But again, the problem is this corrugated sheet turns the space into a microwave oven type of situation. The interior becomes so heat up that you cannot really stay, you cannot really live in that place comfortably, but the quality of life is not ensured at all. So we're trying to bring up solutions like this with the natural material and combining the local material, the corrugated sheet. How can you make a comfortable space? Like you can use bamboo mats, and you can use like another layer of ceiling so that it's not heated much, or wherever the corrugated sheet is exposed, that is metal, you can cover it with some bamboo screen, so that it doesn't really induce the heat. But these ideas, they need people need a lot of conversation or education ongoing. People need to talk with us. People need to talk about the design, and slowly they will understand that, okay, these are the situations, and we can deal with this in a clever manner. We can just design it, and that will make our life comfortable or make our environment comfortable. And so we organize a lot of workshops especially with the adolescent girls and boys who are the future of the future minds of the society, of the community. And we have this conversation with them. We ask them, how can this place be more comfortable, and what can be the design solutions? Like, we treat them like para architects, and they draw, they plan, and they come up with solutions. So in 2018, Jesus or David, if I'm taking too much time, let me just remind me. Then I'll be quick, but I'll carry on.
I feel as if I were in Bangladesh, traveling around. So I'm thrilled, and I don't know. Just take your time. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
All right. Yeah. So in 2018, we not in 2018, but 2017, influx happened. I think many of you might be hearing about that, the Rohingya refugee situation. About 1 million Rohingya refugees fled from Myanmar to Bangladesh, and they took shelter in the Teknaf region, in the south region of Bangladesh, in the hills of our country. And at that time, in 2018, we went to the context, and we had the opportunity to see it like in front, and we had the opportunity to present there. And you see in the map, this is the Cox's Bazar region, the Teknaf and Cox's Bazar region, and the Myanmar Rakhine state was the red one, and about 1 million people fled from here. And overnight, they created a camp, one of the largest camps of the world. You can see the before photo, May 2017, before the crisis. This was our hill. This was our forest from that region. And into December 2017, this is the scenario. For 1 million refugees, how can you make sure that they get a roof on their head, or just a wash facility to go to? But fortunately, there are a lot of people working there. A lot of organizations were supporting this situation, and we were fortunate to go there and be a part of the team. And what we did was, we really tried to understand the situation first, like what is going on and how can we contribute as designers. The first key was that we forgot about being a designer. We thought, okay, maybe I don't have to do architecture here, but in any way can we help? So slowly we started like doing various things, like designing toilets, or we went there to just to console them, or just to deliver some foods, or that sort of thing. And slowly we made a lot of friends, and they came up, they got to know that we are architects and we design places, and we started getting projects, and we had the opportunity to work on this. You can see the orange dots here. We worked in many projects from these camps. There are 32 camps in that region. In the A region, you can see this is the Ukhia region, and in the B region, this is the Teknaf camps. So totally there are 32 camps, and we had the opportunity to touch many of the camps there, and get to know the situation, and work on projects like this. So this project is in Camp 25. This is a safe space for women and girls. This is hosted by BRAC, funded by UNHCR. And the idea was to really create connection with them. we deliberately designed a lot of workshops and one-to-one interactions with them, because Rohingya community had been known as a conservative community. There are reasons for that. A long history of like trauma or instability made them like that. But we thought, okay, some cultural exchange or maybe some interactions with us one-to-one may actually create some trust, build some trust among us. So this is like, after designing the space, we introduced all the girls, all the adolescents and females to come here and to observe this space as they want. So they're drawing like flowers, the center in their own manner, from their own imagination. And of course, this center was built by the male members of the community. Again, there is a success story from this, from building this space. Like I have seen so many women-friendly spaces or safe spaces for women and girls in other camps, and those areas cannot really create the trust with the community often. People from the, especially male members from the community, they forbid their female members to go to these spaces because they have this insecurity, like they feel like they are being threatened, or their culture is being threatened, or religion is being threatened in many manner. So what we did was we designed this very organic shape and interesting courtyard and built it with these guys. And when we designed a very nice space, they started trusting us and they started saying, okay, can you engage me with this project further? And we said, okay, this is not for the male members, this is for the female members. And they started saying, okay, then maybe my wife or my daughter can come here often. And we said, of course they can come and they can have their own time in this space. This was the first time the male members came to us and said, please engage our female community with your project. Before that, I think this much trust was unseen from us, at least. So they feel, the idea is that they feel safe, they feel expressive, and they can do whatever they want to. And again, we talk about our landscape, our ground, and we try to create that scope inside the courtyard and just in the outside of the center, and to grow all living things with us. And sometimes they clean it and make it for a different purpose, the courtyard, and sometimes they grow vegetable, that sort of thing. It comes to handy for the community members. Another project is Hindupara Community Center. This center is situated near a very dense camp. You can see on the right, this is the Hindupara refugee camp. And on the left, this is the host community area. The host communities are Bangladeshi people who are hosting the whole situation. So this camp has a very unique identity. This is the only Hindu camp among the 32 camps. All other camps are Muslim. Muslim people stays there, but this is the only Hindu camp. Around 1,000 families are staying there. So they are living in a very one of the corner of the whole situation, and probably they have been facing the most insecurity or most threats among others, because they are the minorities within the minorities. And we felt that they are very vulnerable in terms of trust and communication. At the first, when we went there, we wanted to create a space and try to really create a platform where they can come and they can take the service of BRAC is providing. But in the beginning, they didn't trust us. They thought we're going to destroy their temple or destroy their or trade their religion or that sort of thing. And they didn't allow us to build inside. So we thought, okay, maybe we don't force them. What we do is we select a site just adjacent to the camp. And we found a place just adjacent to the camp. The land is of a Bangladeshi person. He is a Muslim. This is a Muslim Bangladeshi community. So we built the center there, just adjacent to the camp. So right now, what happens is this center, both the host community and the refugee community, and this has right now created a very unique connection between the host and the refugees. This was the situation at the early stage. We found an abandoned farm, chicken farm, shed there, and we converted it to the community center. Again, when we try to design, we try to avoid new footprints as much as possible and try to build on the previous footprint. Whatever the ground was taken before, we try to build on that without cutting new trees or without taking more land. So you see these two shades, this just has been converted to the newer shades. And this space came like this. We tried to experiment with like cultural essence, or more like the texture, the color of the space that should, I thought we thought that should resemble the community members, and look how their sari and the color of the whole place merges, like it feels like a one single thing. And building technique is very important for me, like how you are designing and how you are building it with the craftsmen or the laborers or the artisans, because you can design a soft construction and you can design a very dictating construction, I must say. But we try to design components in a way that this is soft and you enjoy it when you are installing it, when you are making the patterns on the floor, when you are putting the screen on the top. This makes you happy. This makes you feel like you are creating a good environment for yourself. So we try to design in a manner that this is a soft construction. This is another project we did with IOM, UN Migration. This is the Rohingya Cultural Memory Center. We are calling it Healing Through Making, the whole system, because this project was not about the final building. This project was a long-term project, and it was about healing through a creative process. The MHPSS team, the mental health department under IOM, UN Migration, hosted this project, and they particularly work with mental health. So when United Nations, IOM, they first approached us, they said, okay, they want to build a museum for the Rohingya community, and we thought, okay, should there be a museum inside the camp? That is a question we should be asking first. And that was the question that took us further to a different process or a different outcome. We came up with the idea that this is probably a living museum. This is probably a breathable space where people can just come, share their culture, and celebrate their culture. It doesn't have to be a fixed thing. It can be a very temporary thing within the temporary camp, but it can definitely host the culture, the life, and the love that they need. Um, so we designed a process where they will come up with all sort of ideas, all sort of their stories, all sort of background history, and they will express themselves. So you see the community key leaders, they're looking at a embroidery that was created by a female person from the community, and they started talking about this within the camp. uh, I think previously uh, none of us could think that within the camp this is possible, but when we started the conversation, this really happened, and this really created a very positive energy among everyone. And we designed workshops or design studio sessions in the camp, like we have what we have in the universities. We had this in mind, that if we can have these classes in the university, why can't we have this in the camp? And we did that. And everyone used to draw every day or make models like this boat or that sort of thing. What motivated them was that we told them, this is about your culture, about your memory. If anyone can do this, it's you. But we cannot create something out of our memory, because Rohingya memory is not our memory, and we cannot write it down and try to translate. It's you, Rohingya people, who has to translate this whole situation. And they came up with what what was precious to them, what was art to them. And they started uh, drawing ideas like this foldable wall that can be converted, the windows can be converted to tables or chairs, that sort of thing. We didn't give any clue to them that what you should draw, because that's something we were very concerned of, that we do not want to put or push foreign ideas. When we're talking about the culture, it should be very raw or come from them. And in every session, all the ideas definitely came from them, and we just had the conversation about the right things, about the wrong things, that sort of thing. And they made models and surprised us. We didn't expect them to make models, but they did. And with children, we had workshops like this. And again, we arrange a lot of class or workshop, whatever you call. And this is about a roofing technique, the Nipa pump technique. So what is happening here is, few of the master artisans who are elderly, who know the techniques better, are teaching the new one who doesn't know the technique. So this is a very traditional technique of roofing from Myanmar, of the Rohingya community. We also had this technique, but that was long ago. Right now, people don't really use this very beautiful method. We have forgotten it. Fortunately, I learned it from the Rohingya people, and yeah, because of these classes, we could learn these techniques and how we can make this roof. And now I'm trying to replicate this Rohingya technique to different context of our country, where we have the material and where we can really build with it. You see on the left sketch, this is a sketch by a Rohingya artisan. We asked them what sort of space do you think is the most appropriate when we are talking about mental health, when we're talking about peace. Where would you want to sit if it is a peaceful place? So he had this idea of spaces like layers of semi-outdoor area, indoor area, and then again another semi-outdoor, and there's a courtyard inside. So he said, oh, I would like to sit in that courtyard. and that was a product or outcome of one of the design workshops, and I think that was in our subconscious, and we didn't really try to replicate that, but in our subconscious we made something like this with the courtyards, with the lights coming inside, and later we realized that how this really helped us thinking the whole situation. And the interior actually right now looks like this, although this is a very small space, and we made just one small courtyard for the light, but this is a very peaceful light coming right now, and you see the garden, and people can sit around and they can have sessions or discussions or just a peaceful time by themselves. The craftsmen explored a lot and made these fences. We just had the idea that this fence can be breathable. How can we have these new techniques? They gave us few new techniques and we chose one. And we had these music sessions during the construction. That is very important, the music sessions. It instantly creates energy among everyone and encourages them to build like this. All the floor patterns, these are the symbol of strength from Arakan, like the sun, the flower, the boat. All these symbols came from them, and they designed the tile, the floor tile, and they made a beautiful floor. We also had to keep in mind that all these techniques should be very temporary. We didn't use any reinforcement. These were all just laid and plastered very lightly, so that if someday we have to remove all these, we can easily remove these. We don't have to break and make a mess. So all the poles, all the columns you see, these are designed in a manner that these are easily, you can remove this from the site without much harm or much energy consumed further. And this is the space right now that you can see inside. And plants are growing. And this place is changing every day. Even now, if you go now, you'll see new faces, you'll see new products, you'll see people are coming and knowing about Rohingya people in a different way. I think before this project, even we had this idea of Rohingya in a separate manner, that Rohingya people are probably neglected and they are just probably traumatized, and probably it's difficult to have a future vision. But when we collectively built this center, right now we have a very different mindset about Rohingya people. Right now, when we hear about Rohingya, we instantly think they do a very beautiful bamboo weaving. They have very nice decoration skills, and that sort of thing. And you see different foreign officials, they come and visit this place, a must place for everyone who come to the camp, and they know and learn about Rohingya people in a different perspective, from a different perspective. And we work on projects, small projects like this is a renovation project. Currently my studio in that area. We rent this on the left house from a driver person by professional. He was also a friend of us, and we said, okay, can we rent your house and renovate it? So the idea was to create another example for the place we are living in, and influencing people to build good instead of destroying and designing something new. We thought, okay, just whatever we have, we can renovate it and make it better, and that created an example. And also we worked with government in many projects from the context. We renovated their office as well, and that created a good trust and relationship with the government from our side. So yeah, I'm in the end of my conversation. But I think these are some philosophy that or idea that I always try to follow, that understanding the source problem has been my key, and acting to solve it is probably the sustainable way. Like just having a mindset from outside or preconceived idea doesn't work often. I think if we go to any context, we should try to understand that context first, and then slowly take time and reflect upon it. For example, for the Rohingya people, we faced this issue of long history of deprivation, lack of security, lack of education, lack of cultural exchange, and we try to deal with inclusion and dignity, safe space, sharing wisdom and knowledge, and increase contact. So so it's not about just designing the building, it's also about designing your approach that probably clears our head, keep our head clear that how we should be acting. And architecture has been a very good tool, a very useful tool for us to connect, to build trust, to be helpful, and many other reasons. So this is my last slide, and this is also the title of the conversation: presence for a wider spectrum. Why I say this is that I think presence has been the most important key for us in these contexts, because we were taught in a manner that we'll work in a far office and our site will be like in different places, and we'll have the drawings in our papers, in our laptop or computer, and we'll design it, send it to the site, the workers will do that. Yeah, that's the way of working, but that's not the only way and not always the appropriate way. So I think architects have a lot more to offer, and a lot wider spectrum to look for, and presence can create that wider spectrum. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Rizvi. It's been amazing to listen to you, to learn from your perspective. How can architecture address the problems of our generation in every context, in every culture? In this case, you were talking about your country, Bangladesh, and the human refugee crisis as well, which is something that we are experiencing in different countries as we talk. And it captured my attention. It was very, very enlightening for me that you started with a warning. You started warning us about how to mishandle development. And it resonated with me very closely, because I see that in my city, and I'm sure that many people around the world can also point at developments mishandled, and it's an evil of the last 100 years in many countries and many cities. And then you passed on into the necessity of observation, and you gave us this amazing example of this businessman that was providing a sustainable solution without having even having ever been to the university. And that's also transcendental. You know, we can always find people that are nailing it without having ever been shaped or educated in the field of architecture, from which we should be learning humbly. We are educated to provide very, very academic ideas to pretty complex solutions outside the academy, while we should be learning from these best practices and then bringing these practices to the academy. So we could perhaps improve them a little bit more. But it's the other way around, just the way you were showing us today. And then you jumped into your practice, how you can apply this in the most practical way possible in your own career. And it was amazing to see how you could incorporate everything you have learned from observation of best practices and mishandlings, and how fruitful has it been for different communities. And I really enjoyed the way you could address details such as the ceiling with using carpets. It was amazing. It was very, very enriching for me to see this solution and how you could merge clay with bamboo screens and even metal planks, and it all came together with much harmony and beauty. And I would like to open the microphone in case anyone has an observation or a question for you. You can formulate it in Spanish if you wish, and I could translate it. Quiero abrir el espacio para algunos de ustedes que quisieran hacer alguna pregunta al arquitecto Rizvi Hassan. Me la pueden hacer en español si quieren y yo se la puedo traducir. Si hay alguna pregunta por ahí. Veo a Jordi Masalles, a Sinan Rosario, Alex Martínez, mi colega, al señor Rafa Pérez. A ver, alguna pregunta, algún comentario. El señor Shintaro Ariyama también está con nosotros.
Vemos que la señorita Ariani Caballero dice que tiene una pregunta en el chat.
Excelente. A ver.
Ariani.
Sí, yo la anoté aquí en inglés, creo que la puedo intentar decir en inglés. Y pues sí, ¿tengo que prender mi cámara o lo dejo así?
Como tú quieras, no hay problema.
Bueno, déjame ver si la puedo encender. Ahí, ok. Bueno, hi. My name is
Hello.
Ariane. I'm an architecture student from the UNFU University here in Santo Domingo. And I noted, like, the thing I wanted to tell you. And sometimes learning how to design, I have seen, like, we as students, we don't find the answers of the problems that designs brings to us. But with your presentation, I just see how those solutions for those problems are just in front of our eyes, like how the people give you the solutions of the problems. And sometimes we just think like, how I'm gonna solve this, and we just gonna, we lose a lot of time thinking of that. But we just need to really understand the context and how the architecture is always social, is always for the people, for what the people want. And my question, it's about climate change. So for climate change, I have seen how we have seen new technologies for architecture, for like development, the architecture, but seeing some examples of how your country manage architecture solutions for nature cycle, like the nature cycle of your country. Do you think can this apply for this new architecture for climate change? Or maybe we should look forward to new technologies and forget the past?
Yeah, okay, so your first comment about learning architecture in the school and having these cracks in mind that okay, I cannot find the solution. I think it's the most it's the most obvious thing we face, that we cannot find solutions like sitting in a room or a university, because building or designing our environment, this is probably sometimes, you know, even ancestral knowledge, or it's a collective knowledge, or people who stays there, they have the best instinct to what should be the solution, what are the problems. The thing is, when we are students, we don't often live in a place we design, right? So we cannot understand what's the problem we are creating, instead of, you know, so I think, yeah, as you were mentioning that when you try to understand the context and you try to talk to many people, you instantly you gather a lot of information that you probably couldn't process yourself. And it's in many cases it's actually impossible to process this much information who are staying in that place and talking about the problem or the solutions they have seen in their surrounding. So that gives the contextual solutions. And about the technical new technology and new materials, I think I see all sort of materials in a lovely manner, and I like to explore with different materials. Like in the last project, you were seeing that we worked with glass, steel, or any new fabricated system. My point is, when you go to a context, you will understand that are the local craftsmen or the local people, do they have the capacity to use this technology? If yes, they can use that. If not, you can try to learn together. You can try to introduce this new technology to them and try to discuss if it has a good side or bad side. If they accept that, I think it's good to go. If it is like but we also think about many other scenario, like local livelihood. You can think of local livelihood. When you bring some new material from, let's say, China or any other material, we often ignore the local material that is available, or the local shop that is selling their material, and we are bringing the foreign materials instead. So our decisions make a lot of micro impacts in many cases, especially livelihood, or especially like maintenance issues, if there is any. So I think new techniques and new technologies are always should be the way, but that should be blended with what is there in the context. It shouldn't be like imposed. Instead, you can go to a place and you can try to enhance their technology. You can try to make it better, like instead of like imposing from outside. So that is my concern.
Thank you, really interesting. And we see how the social and the context is giving us the answers again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariane. Is there anyone else that wishes to formulate a question on Rizvi? I see Ambassador David Puig. Mr. Puig.
Yes, thank you very much, Jesus. And well, thank you very much, Rizvi. It was wonderful to follow you on this journey through Bangladesh, but also through your own journey in architecture. And it's precisely about this journey that I want to ask you a question about the start of this journey. I would like you to elaborate a little bit more. Maybe where does this idea of the architect that you are practicing came from? I mean, when did you decide that you wanted to be this kind of architect that engaged with your context, that finds sustainable solutions, that works with communities? And I ask you this because I would like to know if at university where you studied, I guess in Bangladesh, you were exposed to this kind of practices. Is this kind of thinking included in the curriculums in Bangladesh, or if you found in the architectural community and practices in architects that practiced before you, if you found let's say mentors, or if you found inspiration that drove you in the direction that you have chosen, because I mean, not knowing much about Bangladesh, but from the little I've seen in architecture, there seems to be some kind of tradition of architects engaging with communities, building schools with local materials, building mosques, for example. So I wonder there if there is, let's say, some kind of, like a school of Bangladeshi architecture, let's say like that, that you are kind of following and pushing forward. This would be my question.
I think, okay, first, I think I should mention how the urges came or started of like reaching out to these places. My father is a cardiologist, and we often had this idea in mind that even in the worst situations, my father has something to contribute. He will be offering people health service and that sort of thing. But during my studies, I think this idea bothered me a lot, that probably I found less importance, me as a designer, in a situation like a war situation or a crisis situation. How can I contribute? The art started from that question, and I have to mention my mentor, Khandakar Hasibul Kobir. He is also the Aga Khan Award recipient from the same cycle, and he has been teaching in BRAC University, not our university. I'm from BUET, Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology. But we have been observing his practices. Khandakar Hasibul Kobir, he was probably one of the very few architects who broke this boundary and went outside the city or in the informal settlements to really go and work with them. And I think all my practices, these are the contributions of definitely all my teachers or university mentors, because all these skills not of collaborating, but design tools or any skill, or about understanding about local materials, these have been like little clues all over the journey from the university as well. Of course, we didn't have these in curriculum particularly, that we need to go to this place and try to understand the context. We didn't have that sort of situation in the university. But what I did was I tried to follow Khandakar Hasibul Kobir, my mentor, after my graduation, and I went to Jhinada to work with him for a couple of months. And I really learned from him. I observed him, how he communicates with the local people, with the mayor, with the just villagers or artisans. And that observation, first-hand observation, when I saw him talking to others, that was the turning point of my whole journey. Before that, I had this, I saw these online visuals that people work with local materials, people engage communities, but I didn't know how until I did that with Khondokar Hasibul Kabir. So that was back in 2017. And after that, I really tried to use my learning from him and tried to mix my own understanding as well. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sorry, my microphone was off. Do we have any last question around? Okay, if we don't, I would like Ambassador David Puig to say the last words. It's been an honor to me, a pleasure to me to meet you, Rizvi, and to be invited by Ambassador David Puig in the Dominican Republic's embassy in India to host these talk of yours. And I wish we could go on into further exchanges with you, Rizvi, and with the Dominican Republic's embassy in India. Ambassador, any last words?
Well, as I said, I would like to reiterate my thanks to Rizvi for this wonderful conversation. We'd like to thank you also, Jesus, for having introduced and conducted this conversation. As you rightly mentioned, it will be great, ideal that we continue to have some kind of exchange with Rizvi. Maybe that could be done through the universities of the Dominican Republic. We could think of that. I mean, in the future, now the channel of communication is open, and also, of course, we like to invite Rizvi to our part of the world when he's maybe traveling to the United States or invited to lecture somewhere in the Americas. We could think of that and then have him speaking directly in the Dominican Republic about his experience, which are completely relevant to our context, similar challenges, and also we're seeing architecture following similar paths, not always the best paths. So in that sense, all that Rizvi is saying, presenting, is music to the ears of students and architects in the Dominican Republic. So once again, thanks to everyone for having joined us. This conversation will be has been recorded and will be available soon. We'll put it up in the YouTube channel of the embassy, but we'll make sure also to send the link to everyone who has registered, and we'll ask you to also share it with other architects, colleagues, friends, because I do believe that what has been said today, it's worth being shared and listened to. So, Rizvi, if you want to have the last word and say goodbye from my side, I think again, thanks to everyone and thanks you.
Thank you so much, Jesus and David. It has been a real pleasure. I really hope we can meet in front someday and have these conversations further. To all the audiences, I think I just want to mention one thing that I always think, that an architect can be three things. One is like useless, one is dictator, and another is enhancer. So whether we want to be enhancer or dictator, that's up to us. But I think our world needs more enhancers right now, and so that we can go to a place and try to make any place a bit better than before. Whether we use new technology or new tools, of course, that's more powerful. But yeah, how can we enhance more? Thank you so much, everyone. It has been a very lovely morning for me.
Thank you,
Thank
Rizvi.
you.
David Boyd. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.